My name is Rebecca Anderson and I'm 29 years old. The courthouse hallway had that institutional echo, every whisper amplified, every laugh somehow sharper. My brother Tyler stood 20 feet away with his lawyer, his wife Ashley beside him, both of them radiating the kind of confidence that comes from never being challenged. "She's living off Grandpa's trust fund while the rest of us actually work," Tyler said, loud enough for me to hear. Loud enough for everyone to hear. "This lawsuit is about holding her accountable." His attorney, a man named Derek Paulson who billed $550 an hour, nodded sympathetically. "The evidence is clear. She's been draining family assets for years." Ashley laughed. "She probably thinks she can charm the judge like she charmed Grandpa." I kept my eyes on my phone, typing an email to my investment firm with steady fingers. The subject line read, "Urgent, capital withdrawal." The body was one sentence. "Withdraw all capital from Anderson Fitness Empire effective immediately." I hit send. 3 seconds later, Tyler's CFO's phone started going off. I could hear it from across the hallway. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Emergency alerts. The kind that mean someone's world is about to change. Tyler glanced at his CFO Marcus Chin, who'd gone pale staring at his screen. "Problem?" Tyler asked casually. Marcus looked up, his face drained of color. "We need to talk. Now." But the bailiff called us before they could step away. "Anderson versus Anderson. The court is ready." Tyler shot Marcus a look. "We'll discuss later," and straightened his expensive suit jacket. He'd always been like this. Confident. Certain. The golden child who could do no wrong. I followed them into the courtroom wearing a simple gray dress I'd bought 4 years ago, carrying a worn leather portfolio that had seen me through college and beyond. What Tyler didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the trust fund they thought I was living off had been empty for 7 years. I'd depleted it finishing my MBA after Dad cut me off, back when I chose the wrong graduate program. What they definitely didn't know was what I'd built since then. But they were about to find out. Growing up as a Anderson meant something in our family. It meant ambition, success, visibility. Tyler had all three in abundance. He was the oldest, the heir apparent, the one Dad groomed from age 10 to take over the family's commercial real estate business. He played football in high school, got his business degree from a good state school, and started working for Dad immediately after graduation. At 25, Tyler launched Anderson Fitness Empire, a chain of upscale gyms across the Southwest. Premium memberships, personal training, the whole luxury fitness experience. Dad invested $500,000 as seed money. Mom hosted the grand opening party. They were so proud. I was 22, still in college studying computer science. "Why computers?" Dad had asked, disappointed. "That's not a Anderson business." "Because I'm good at it." Tyler's good at business. That's what matters in this family. I graduated, got a job at a tech startup making $62,000 a year. Decent for entry level, but nothing impressive to discuss at family dinners where Tyler talked about his gym expansion plans and Dad nodded approvingly. Tyler opened his second location when I was 24. His third when I was 25. Each opening was a family event. Champagne, congratulations, Dad beaming with pride. "When are you going to do something real?" Tyler asked me at the third opening. "You're almost 30. Still doing the same tech job." "I like my work." "Rebecca, you're wasting your potential. You should be building something. Making money. Being successful." What he didn't know, what I didn't tell him, was that I'd been building something for 3 years. A software platform for gym management and member retention. Started as a side project. Grew into contract work. Then into a full business. By the time I was 26, I had 12 gym clients paying $5,000 a month each for my platform. By 27, I had 43 clients and had hired my first employee. By 28, I'd sold the company to a national fitness management corporation for $8.2 million. I drove the same Honda. Lived in the same apartment. Wore the same clothes. My family assumed I was still grinding away at my tech job, probably making $75,000 a year if I was lucky. I never corrected them. After I sold my company, I started investing. Real estate. Startups. And when Tyler's gym chain hit a cash flow crisis 2 years ago, when 3 locations were hemorrhaging money and he couldn't make loan payments, an anonymous investor through a venture capital intermediary offered him $2.9 million. No strings. Just equity stake. Silent partnership. Tyler took it gratefully, though he never mentioned it at family dinners. Never admitted he'd nearly gone bankrupt. Just kept talking about his successful expansion, while my money kept his business afloat. I did it because despite everything he was still my brother. And because I wanted to see if success without struggle would make him kinder. It hadn't. Then came Grandpa Edward. He was 87 when he died last year. Heart attack, sudden, no warning. The will reading was a week later. All of us gathered in the attorney's office. Grandpa had been worth about $3.8 million, mostly from selling his construction business a decade ago. We all expected it to be split evenly among his 3 grandchildren, Tyler, me, and our cousin Jennifer. The attorney read the distributions. To my grandson Tyler, $100,000. To my granddaughter Jennifer, $100,000. To my granddaughter Rebecca, the remainder of the estate, approximately $3.4 million, plus the family lake house. The room went silent. Tyler stood up. That's a mistake. It's not, the attorney said quietly. Edward was very clear about his wishes. Why would he do this? Mom demanded, looking at me like I'd committed a crime. The attorney pulled out a letter. Edward left an explanation. He wrote, Tyler has had every advantage: family support, seed capital, constant encouragement. Jennifer married well and wants for nothing. Rebecca built a successful career with no help from anyone, never asked for handouts and never complained about being overlooked. She's the only one who proved she doesn't need this money, which is exactly why she deserves it. Tyler's face went red. She manipulated him. Poisoned him against us. I barely saw Grandpa, I said quietly. Maybe 3 times a year at family events. Exactly. Tyler snapped. Then suddenly he leaves you everything? He did something. Said something. Tyler, Mom started. No. This is fraud. Elder abuse. We're contesting this. He stormed out. Ashley followed. Dad looked at me with something like disappointment, as if I'd failed by accepting an inheritance I hadn't asked for. I sat there quiet, thinking about Grandpa's letter. About the fact that he'd noticed. That someone had seen I was building something real, even if my family hadn't. Tyler filed the lawsuit 3 months later. The claim was straightforward. Undue influence, elder abuse, exploitation of a vulnerable adult. He wanted the estate split equally among all 3 grandchildren, which would give him an additional $1.13 million. His attorney was aggressive from the start. Filed motions. Demanded depositions. Made it clear they planned to paint me as a manipulative opportunist who'd preyed on an elderly man. The lawsuit claim died. Asterisk isolated Grandpa from the family. Asterisk made false promises to secure the inheritance. Asterisk manipulated him during a period of diminished mental capacity. Asterisk engaged in financial elder abuse. All lies. But lies told confidently enough sound like truth. My attorney, Patricia Morrison, was 54 years old and had handled estate litigation for 26 years. She had gray hair she didn't bother dyeing and a reputation for destroying opposing counsel. They don't have evidence, she said when we met. But they'll try to win on emotion. The judge will see a successful businessman and his overlooked sister. They'll tell a story about family betrayal. What's our defense? The truth. But we need to decide how much truth you want to reveal. I thought about that. About Tyler calling me a trust fund fraud. About my parents nodding along. About years of being invisible while they celebrated his every achievement. All of it, I said. Every single detail. Patricia smiled. Then let's make this interesting. What my family didn't know, what I'd kept carefully hidden, was that since selling my gym management software, I'd built something bigger. I'd taken that $8.2 million and started investing aggressively. Real estate in emerging markets. Early-stage tech companies. Strategic stakes in fitness and wellness businesses. Within 18 months, my portfolio was worth $18 million. Within 2 years, $27 million. I'd also started a new company. A health data analytics platform that used AI to predict member retention and optimize gym operations. We had 17 employees, contracts with 62 gym chains across the country, and were on track for $12 million in revenue this year. I was the sole owner. The sole decision maker. the sole beneficiary of what was rapidly becoming a very successful enterprise. My annual income was now 7 figures. Grandpa's $3.4 million inheritance was sitting in an account I hadn't touched because I genuinely didn't need it. But my family still thought I worked some boring tech job. Still thought I made maybe $80,000 a year. Still saw me as the disappointing daughter who got lucky with an inheritance she didn't deserve. And they had no idea their golden child's gym empire was standing on a foundation I'd built. Judge Robert Kim presided. He was 62, former corporate attorney, with a reputation for having no patience for family drama masquerading as legitimate legal disputes. Tyler sat at the plaintiff's table with Derek Paulson, looking confident and wronged. Ashley sat behind him in the gallery with my parents. Jennifer was there too, supposedly neutral but clearly on Tyler's side. I sat with Patricia, my worn portfolio on the table, looking exactly like what they thought I was. The lucky sister with no real accomplishments. This is Anderson versus Anderson, Judge Kim said. A will contest alleging undue influence and elder abuse. Mr. Paulson, proceed. Derek Paulson stood with practiced confidence. Your Honor, this case is about a young woman who systematically manipulated an elderly man for financial gain. The defendant, Rebecca Anderson, had minimal contact with Edward Anderson throughout her adult life. Yet in his final year she somehow convinced him to divert over $3 million away from his other grandchildren and toward herself. He laid it out beautifully. The dramatic disparity in the inheritance. The timing will change just 8 months before Grandpa's death. My sudden interest in family relationships. We will show that Edward Anderson was vulnerable, that Rebecca exploited that vulnerability, and that this will represents not his true wishes but her manipulation. He entered evidence. Testimony from Tyler about how distant I'd been from Grandpa. Financial records showing the inheritance amounts. Medical records showing Grandpa had been on blood pressure medication and cholesterol medication. Evidence of declining health. Judge Kim looked skeptical but let him continue. Tyler took the stand first. He looked good up there. Successful. Honest. The kind of person judges instinctively trust. Can you describe your relationship with your grandfather? Paulson asked. Very close. I visited him monthly. Called him weekly. He was proud of my business. He'd built his own construction company, so we connected on that level. And your sister's relationship with him? Distant. He showed up for holidays maybe. Birthday dinners. But there was no real connection. Grandpa used to joke that she was too busy with her computer stuff to visit. Did that change? Yes. About a year before he died, suddenly Rebecca was visiting. Having coffee with him. It seemed calculated. Objection, Patricia said calmly. Speculation. Sustained, Judge Kim said. Stick to facts, Mr. Anderson. Tyler nodded. Rebecca started spending time with Grandpa, and his attitude toward me changed. He stopped asking about my business. Started making comments about how some people need help to succeed, and real achievement is building without a safety net. Did you know where those ideas came from? I believe Rebecca planted them. Paulson entered more evidence. Bank statements showing Tyler's business loans from Dad. His seed capital. The $500,000 initial investment. Making it clear Tyler had family support. Then he drew the contrast. My apparent lack of family support, my modest job, my sudden inheritance. Patricia's cross-examination was surgical. Mr. Anderson, you testified that you visited your grandfather monthly. What were the dates of your last 3 visits before his death? Tyler hesitated. I don't have exact dates. The care facility keeps visitor logs. According to their records, you visited twice in Grandpa's final 6 months. Once in February, once in April. He died in July. I was busy with my business. I see. And you mentioned your business received $500,000 in seed capital from your father. Yes. Any other family investments? Tyler shifted. My dad co-signed my first commercial lease. What about external investors? Did you have any anonymous investors? His face changed. Just slightly. That's not relevant too. Please answer the question, Mr. Anderson. Yes. An anonymous investor through a venture capital firm provided $2.9 million about 2 years ago. $2.9 million. That's substantial. Did that investment save your business from bankruptcy? Derek Paulson stood. Objection. Relevance. Your Honor, Patricia said smoothly, I'm establishing that Mr. Anderson had significant financial support, including support he hasn't disclosed to his family, while claiming his sister had no legitimate reasons to receive a larger inheritance. Overruled. Answer the question, Mr. Anderson. Tyler's jaw tightened. 3 of my gym locations were underperforming. The investment helped stabilize operations. By stabilize, you mean prevented bankruptcy? Yes. Patricia smiled. No further questions. They called my mother next. She testified about how shocked she was by the will, how close Tyler had been with Grandpa, how unusual it was for me to suddenly receive everything. Patricia's cross was brief. Mrs. Anderson, did you ever ask your daughter about her career? Her income? Her accomplishments? Mom blinked. She works in technology. She has a decent job. Did you ever ask what that job entailed? What she earned? Whether she'd advanced in her career? Though. She never talked about it much. Did you ever ask? Silence. No further questions. Derek Paulson rested his case at 2:30 p.m. Judge Kim called a 15-minute recess. In the hallway, I heard Tyler talking to his CFO Marcus, who looked increasingly panicked. What do you mean withdrawing? Tyler demanded in a harsh whisper. The anonymous investor. They've filed notice of complete capital withdrawal. All $2.9 million. We have 72 hours before the funds are removed. That's impossible. The agreement had a 5-year commitment. There's a clause. Material breach of investor relations. They're invoking it. On what grounds? Marcus looked at me across the hallway, then back at Tyler. They didn't specify. When court reconvened, Patricia stood. Your Honor, the defense calls Rebecca Anderson. I walked to the witness stand. Was sworn in. Sat down and looked at Tyler across the courtroom. He was watching me with growing suspicion. Patricia smiled gently. Ms. Anderson, can you tell us about your career? I work in fitness technology. Software and data analytics for gym operations. Just software. No. I founded a gym management platform called Optimize Gym. Sold it 3 years ago to FitTech Solutions for $8.2 million. The courtroom went dead silent. Tyler's mouth fell open. Could you repeat that? Derek Paulson said, standing slowly. I sold my company for $8.2 million, I said clearly. After taxes, I netted approximately $6.1 million. Judge Kim leaned forward. Ms. Anderson, you're telling this court you had over $6 million before your grandfather's death? Yes, Your Honor. I've since invested it. My current portfolio is worth approximately $27 million. I also run a new company, Anderson Health Analytics, which generated $9.8 million in revenue last year. Patricia entered evidence methodically. Tax returns, corporate filings, bank statements, the purchase agreement from the Optimize Gym sale, client lists from my current company, letters from Fortune 500 gym chains praising our platform. Tyler looked like he'd been hit with a brick. Ms. Anderson, Patricia continued, did you make any investments in fitness businesses in the past 2 years? Yes. I invested $2.9 million in Anderson Fitness Empire, my brother's gym chain, through an anonymous venture capital structure. His business was failing. 3 locations were about to close. I saved it. I watched the realization dawn on Tyler's face. Then the fury. Patricia entered the investment documents, the wire transfers, the corporate structure showing my ownership, the loan agreements Tyler had signed using my money as collateral for expansion. Your Honor, Patricia said calmly, my client didn't need her grandfather's inheritance. She has never needed it. She built a multi-million-dollar career independently, secretly invested millions to save her brother's failing business, and received an inheritance from a grandfather who recognized her genuine success. The plaintiff's case isn't about undue influence. It's about a successful man discovering his overlooked sister is more successful than he ever was. Derek Paulson looked panicked. Your Honor, the plaintiff wasn't aware. That's the problem, isn't it? Judge Kim said dryly. He wasn't aware of his sister's success because he never bothered to ask. And now he's suing her for money she doesn't need while she's been secretly keeping his business alive. Paulson tried to recover. Your Honor, regardless of the defendant's current finances, the will was made by a man of sound mind who apparently was paying more attention to his grandchildren than his own son was. Anything else, Mr. Paulson? No, Your Honor. Judge Kim looked at Tyler. Mr. Anderson, your sister has been your largest investor for 2 years and you had no idea? Tyler's face was red. She never told me. Did you ever ask about her career? Her success? Or did you just assume she was struggling because she wasn't asking you for help? Silence. Judge Kim didn't even leave the bench. I've heard enough, he said. Edward Anderson was clearly of sound mind when he made his will. The medical evidence shows no cognitive decline. He met with his attorney privately to make these changes. And he left a letter explaining his reasoning in detail. He looked at Tyler. Mr. Anderson, your grandfather gave you $100,000, which is more than many people receive in inheritance. He gave his other granddaughter the same. And he gave the bulk of his estate to the grandchild who proved she could succeed without family help, without seed capital, without anyone's attention or approval. He turned to Derek Paulson. This lawsuit is without merit. The plaintiff has failed to provide any evidence of undue influence, elder abuse, or manipulation. What the plaintiff has demonstrated is that he made assumptions about his sister's success based on her gender, her field, and her quiet demeanor, and those assumptions were dramatically wrong. The gavel hit. Case dismissed. Plaintiff to pay defendant's legal fees. I'm also awarding $75,000 in sanctions for bringing a frivolous lawsuit that appears motivated by jealousy rather than legitimate legal grievance. The gavel fell again. We're adjourned. I gathered my portfolio slowly. Patricia squeezed my shoulder. Well done. In the hallway, Tyler grabbed my arm. You let me sue you. You could have just told me. I told you the will was legitimate, I said, pulling away. You chose to call me a fraud. To sue me. To drag me through this. But the investment, my company, you can't withdraw that money. Actually, I can. There's a material breach clause. You sued your largest investor without knowing it. That's breach of investor relations. Marcus appeared, phone still buzzing. Tyler, the banks are calling. The loans secured by the investment. They want new collateral or immediate payment. Tyler's face went white. How much time do we have? 72 hours before the funds are removed. After that, 15 days before the loans are called. Rebecca, please. Tyler's voice cracked. I was wrong. I'm sorry. But I have employees. People depending on me. You have employees depending on money I invested. Money I gave you anonymously because I knew you'd never accept it if you knew it came from your disappointing sister. I never said you were disappointing. You said I was a trust fund fraud. You said I never worked a day in my life. You said those things today. In court. After I saved your business. My mother appeared. Rebecca, he's your brother. Your family. Yes, I said. And family means I invested $2.9 million to save his business even though he spent years dismissing my career as computer stuff. It means I kept quiet about my success so he could feel superior. It means I never asked for recognition or credit. I looked at Tyler. But it doesn't mean I'll keep funding someone who thinks I'm a fraud. You sued me for $3 million I don't need while living off $3 million you didn't know came from me. That's not family. That's exploitation. I walked toward the exit. Rebecca. Dad called. This isn't how we raised you. I turned back. No. You raised me to be quiet. To not make waves. To let Tyler shine. And I did all that while building something bigger than any of you imagined. But you never noticed because you never looked. I pushed through the courthouse doors into bright afternoon sunlight. Behind me, I heard Marcus telling Tyler about the emergency board meeting. The creditors. The timeline before everything collapsed. I didn't look back. The withdrawal processed exactly as specified. $2.9 million removed from Anderson Fitness Empire's accounts over 3 days. Every penny I'd invested returned to my control. Tyler called 16 times. I didn't answer. Ashley texted, "You're destroying innocent people's jobs. This isn't about Tyler anymore." I texted back, "Tyler destroyed his own business by suing his silent partner. Consequences." Mom called, "Your father had a stress attack. The doctor says his blood pressure is dangerous. Is this what you want? I want Tyler to learn that actions have consequences, I said. That you can't call someone a fraud and expect them to keep funding your dreams. You're being cruel. No. I'm being quiet. Just like always. You're just noticing now because it's costing you something. I hung up. The banks called Tyler within hours. The commercial loans secured against my investment were now under-collateralized. They wanted either new collateral or full repayment, $1.8 million within 30 days. His landlords called. 3 of his gym leases had clauses requiring minimum asset thresholds. He no longer met them. His equipment financing company called. The leases for treadmills, weights, bikes, all secured against his company's overall asset base, were now in technical default. Anderson Fitness Empire didn't collapse immediately, but it started bleeding. Within 2 weeks, Tyler closed his most expensive location. Within 30 days, he'd laid off 23 employees. Within 45 days, he'd defaulted on one of his commercial loans. He called me once more, 6 weeks after the judgment. My company is dying, he said without preamble. I'm losing everything I built. No, I said. You're losing everything I built. Your company exists because I saved it. You're watching what happens when that support is removed. What do you want? An apology? I'm sorry. I was wrong about everything. I was jealous and blind and... I want you to understand what it feels like to build something and have your family dismiss it as worthless. I want you to know what it's like to succeed despite everyone assuming you'll fail. I want you to experience what I lived for 7 years. You're punishing me. No, I'm teaching you. There's a difference. Silence on the line. Is there any way to fix this? Tyler asked quietly. Build your business yourself. Prove it can survive without my money. Show me you're actually as successful as you think you are. Do it without Dad's seed capital, without my investment, without anyone's safety net. Then maybe we can talk about family. And if I can't? Then you'll learn that calling someone a fraud doesn't make them one. It just reveals who you are. I hung up. I'm sitting in my corner office, the real one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown. My company now has 32 employees. We just landed a contract with a national gym franchise worth $8.9 million over 3 years. Forbes called last week about a feature on women in fitness technology. My phone buzzes. A text from Tyler, still here. Down to 3 locations. Revenue stable. No investors. Just me. Thought you should know. I smile. Text back, proud of you. Because I am. He's rebuilding. Smaller. Humbler. But actually building this time. Mom and I have lunch once a month now. She asks about my company. Actually listens. Last time she said, I'm sorry we didn't see you. Your father and I thought success looked like Tyler. Loud and visible. We didn't realize it could be quiet and powerful. I forgave her. Dad sent me an email last month. I was wrong to dismiss your work. Wrong to assume Tyler's path was the only valid one. I'm sorry it took a lawsuit to open my eyes. I haven't responded yet. But I might. Eventually. Jennifer, my cousin, called to apologize. I thought you were lucky. I didn't realize you were brilliant. I'm sorry I didn't defend you. You didn't know, I said. None of you did. That was partly my fault for staying invisible. Why did you stay invisible? I thought about that. Because I wanted to know who'd love me when I had nothing to offer them. Turns out the answer was nobody in my family. But at least I knew the truth. Here's what I learned from all this. Being overlooked is only painful when you believe you need to be seen. Once you realize you don't, that your worth isn't determined by your family's recognition, it becomes freedom. They thought I was nothing. I built an empire. They thought I needed their approval. I built without it. They thought I was a trust fund fraud. I was their trust fund. And when they finally saw the truth, when the courtroom revelation stripped away every assumption, they realized they'd been living off the success of the sister they'd dismissed. The invisible daughter. The disappointing one. The one who supposedly never worked. I'm the one who built a $27 million portfolio while they argued over a $3.4 million inheritance I didn't need. I'm the one who saved my brother's business, withdrew my support when betrayed, and walked away without regret. I don't need their validation anymore. I never did. I just needed to prove it to myself. Mission accomplished. And Tyler? He's learning. Fully. Painfully. But learning. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is letting them fail. Letting them discover what they're actually capable of without a safety net they didn't know existed. He called me a fraud. I showed him what fraud actually looks like. Pretending you're successful when your disappointing sister is secretly keeping you afloat. The truth always surfaces eventually. And when it does, it changes everything.